Welcome to our weekly Forex forecast, and this is for trading for the week of February 10th to the 14th, 2020. And just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here. Okay, so starting before we dive into this, one of the things that is coming back or is impacting the market currently is the coronavirus. So we have seen that the number of deaths have grown as a result of the coronavirus, and the number of infections have grown as well. And there is no vaccine yet. So that was causing stress for the markets, and it was causing this risk-off environment. But then China has been injecting money into the stock market to keep the market up, and that's kind of helped curb everything. But now that issue is back into the market because even now there's no vaccine. So keep an eye on any of the developments around that. If things become more severe, it could have more of a negative impact on the markets. All right, so let's dive into the news that's coming up this week. We do have some Chinese number here. We have investor confidence numbers out of the Eurozone. So with this one here, it's decreasing already. But if the numbers come in below this, that would be negative because it's already below what it was supposed to be or what it was last time. And then, so that would be negative for the euro. Euro has really took a beating this week, and this could push things further. So keep that in mind. On Tuesday here, we do have preliminary GDP numbers for the quarter for UK here. And with this one, the data has not been too bad for British pound. So if the number is as expected, I would not look for much of a change. But if it's above or below, if it's above, then we could see British pound going up, and the below, of course, we'll see a drop. So that's that. And we have a bunch of data basically on Tuesday from UK. Now, the really important thing here is we have three central bankers speaking. So we have ECB President Lagarde speaking first, then we have Fed Chair Powell testifying, and then we have Bank of England Governor Carney speaking. So three of them in the same morning. So just be mindful of that, because things will things can get volatile as a result of these comments. So we know Fed has expressed concerns about the coronavirus, and we have seen so Reserve Bank of Australia actually the forecast got dropped from where they were supposed to be. And if we see more concerns around the economy from either ECB or Bank of England, then we could see these drop as well, or from Fed. If the Fed actually talks about cutting interest rates, that would be negative for the US dollar, and we could see US dollar drop, which means rest of the pairs will go up against that. So keep that in mind, because at this point, Fed could talk about potential of cutting rates in the future. But if they don't say anything different from what they have been saying before, then I would not expect an impact. But if they do talk about cutting interest rates, that will be negative for the US dollar. And then we also have on the same day, Reserve Bank of New Zealand monetary policy statement here. Not really expecting an interest rate cut, but if they do what Reserve Bank of Australia did, they cut the forecast for the coming year, that would be negative for New Zealand. Now, Australia and New Zealand are both tightly tied into the Chinese economy, and with coronavirus shutting down a lot of these services, there's a large economic impact as a result of that. So if Reserve Bank of New Zealand mentions anything about that, or its impact on the New Zealand economy, that would be negative. But if they just disregard that, then I would not expect a drop in New Zealand. But if there is a cut in forecast, that will be negative for New Zealand. And then we have Fed chairs testifying for the second day here. And on the same day, we have Reserve Bank of New Zealand, Governor Orr speaking. So usually we get more of a reaction from the first one, but depending on the comments here, it could still make a difference. So he's speaking multiple times here. I usually find the first ones always the more important one. And then we have RBA Governor Lau speaking as well, but we have seen that they have cut the forecast and Australian dollar was negatively impacted as a result of that. And now Thursday here, we have CPI numbers for the US. So this is a number that the central bank tracks very closely, the Fed does. And if we see, if it comes in line with expectations, that would not be bad. But if it's not going up, then we could see concerns that Fed would be concerned about it, and we could see US dollar drop as a result. But if it comes in positive, US dollar has already been going up quite a bit, so we may not have that much of a positive impact. So the chances of a negative impact are higher than the positive impact. And then on Friday here, we have preliminary GDP data out of Germany. The important one here will be, so this one, the trade balance numbers, even though this is not marked as red, these are likely to have an impact, especially with the trade worries that are going on at this point. Although we shouldn't have too much of those leading up to the elections. However, it is a problem. And then we have core retail sales numbers from the US. Here, if they come in above expectations, that will be good for the US. US dollar, otherwise we are likely to see a drop. And we have these numbers here, capacity utilization rate, as well as consumer sentiment numbers. These are important, even though they're not marked in red. So again, if these come in below expectations, that will be negative. But overall, the data that we have seen come out of the US lately has been positive. So just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go on to our charts now. If I can find my charts. Here we go. We'll start off with euro dollar as usual. Euro's been dropping, like I said, it's right into a support here. At this point, looking quite bearish here. We have a nice bearish engulfing candle close. So bias is to the downside. Watch out for a pullback here into so pull back into 1.1020 potentially, and then looking for a drop here. So bias is bearish, and I'm looking for 1.0875. Now keep in mind, this has been a big drop here, so we could see things reverse. So just like this setup here, we saw a drop and then it went back. So keep that in mind, because we are going to be into this important support level, and we could see a bounce off of this. So overall bias is bearish, and target is 1.0875 for euro dollar. Pound dollar here. This one is also bearish. We have seen the break of support. That price had been sitting at this support for quite some time, and now it's heading lower. So with this one here, bias is bearish, and first target here, first target is 1.2820. And in terms of the pullback here, we could see a pullback potentially into 1.2960. So looking for basically a back test of this support resistance level, and then a drop here. So bearish bias for pound, pull back into 1.2960, and then first target is 1.2820, and then second target is 1.2720. So bearish bias for pound dollar as well. Aussie dollar here, this one has dropped as well. We have a pin bar here, but if we take a look at it, we are into some support levels that we have not seen in quite some time. So when price gets into these levels, just be careful because things can turn around. So at this point, bias is still bearish here, and the targets would be 0.66 and then 0.6520. So bias is bearish here for Aussie dollar. But as I said here, it's right into support. So if it doesn't break through the bottom, then it's very likely to go back into this range here. But for now, bearish bias for Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar, same thing here. We have seen a drop. US dollar has been quite strong. And with this, bias is still bearish here. Target is 0.6320. And we could get a pullback into 0.6450. So keep that in mind. But bias is bearish. Now, should let's say if we hear that Reserve Bank of New Zealand is concerned, like we saw with the Reserve Bank of Australia, and they cut the forecast, then we could see a drop all the way into even potentially into 0.6220 level. So keep an eye on it when the statement comes out. But bearish bias for New Zealand dollar. Dollar CAD here, this one's been going up. It is into resistance though, and hasn't really done a whole lot this week. It was stuck in a range for the most part. And as we can see, we are right into resistance here. So price was trying to go through. Now, if it continues higher, then we could see it go all the way into there. But this one has been struggling a little bit more than the other dollar crosses here. So bias is bullish. First target is 1.3335, which is, it's almost there, and then 1.3380. Now, should it go through, then we still have a further, or we have room to the upside. So just keep an eye on this, and we could see, we'll put a third target here as well, 1.3420. So bullish for dollar CAD. Euro pound here, this one has just been going sideways here, trading in a range still. Price went into the support, as we can see, and it has bounced off of that. And right now it's just trading in this range. So my bias is neutral here. It doesn't look like it's really has any kind of trend at this place, at this point. So neutral bias, we could see a drop towards 0.8450 and then a further move to the upside. But overall, though, bias is neutral here for euro pound. Euro Swiss franc, this has also been trading in a range this week. Not much has happened. So the last 2 weeks has been trading sideways. And as we can see, this is into important support. So with this one, what I would look for is if price does not break the support the third time, we are likely to see it go back up. So bias is neutral for Euro Swiss franc, and we could see if it rejects the bottom at 1.0660, then we could see a move back towards 1.0780. So right now, neutral bias for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, on the other hand, it is still trading in a range, but it has made a little bit of a move to the downside here. As we can see, this is the range it's been stuck in for last several weeks here. So it is range bound as well. This one has more of a downward momentum now, but same thing here. I will look for price to drop into 1.2535, but if it doesn't break through, then I'm looking for the move back into that range. So bias here is neutral to bearish here, and the level that we have to watch is 1.2535. If it drops below that, we're looking at 1.2465 and then into 1.2400. So right now it's slightly bearish. It is holding in that range, but if it doesn't break here, it's going back. I will look for it to go back into the range towards 1.2720. So neutral bias for pound Swiss franc as well. Dollar Swiss franc, this has been going up here. US dollar has been strong against pretty much everything. We see that price was into the support. It wasn't able to break it, and we have a bullish engulfing candle now. So bias is bullish, and we are fairly close to the to 0.980. So next target here, 0.9840. So bullish bias here for dollar Swiss franc. And in terms of the pullback, we could get a pullback into 0.9725. So do watch out for these pullbacks because we've had some large moves here. And what we see is after the large moves, generally we see pullbacks for the pairs to readjust before continuing on. So watch out for those pullbacks. Pound yen, this one is looking bearish here. We have had a nice bearish candle close, but we had that here as well. And we see the price wasn't able to break the support. So bias is bearish, but keep in mind this support level at 141. If it doesn't break through the support level, it can go back into the range. So this is the range it's been trading in. So it can go back into the range just like it did over here. So watch out for that break below 141. Otherwise, it's going back. So for now, bias is bearish. First target is 139.20. And then below that, we're looking at 138. But like I said, if it doesn't break through the support, I will look for it to go back towards the top of the range, 144.50. So for now, bias is bearish for pound yen. Euro yen, this one as well has dropped nicely. But again, this is also into support. As we can see, it hasn't quite broken that support yet. It's been lingering around this area since last week. But it hasn't broken it. So we do need to see a break here. First, for it to continue, bias is bearish. We have a nice pin bar, and 118.50 will be the first target. And then we're looking at 117.20 below that. So bias is bearish for euro yen. Dollar yen here, this one hasn't really done a whole lot. It moved up. But it is into resistance, as we can see. This is an important support resistance level where price has turned around several times. So bullish bias here, but with caution, because if it doesn't break through 110.20, chances are it will do that, because we had a nice bullish candle here, but it could not break through this resistance. So same thing, if it doesn't go through 110.25, very likely that it's coming back towards 108.20. And then if we have these concerns around the coronavirus or the reach of the coronavirus growing, that would be positive for the yen. That means yen crosses would drop as a result. So keep an eye on the news for that. But for now, it is bullish with caution. And if it breaks through the 110.25, I'm looking at 111 as the next target. So bullish bias, but with caution for dollar yen. Aussie yen here, this one has also dropped. We see the price went all the way up, but it is into support here as well. So with this one, a bias is more towards the downside here, but because we have that bullishness in it, it could go do a retest of that level once again. So do keep an eye on that, but we need to see it break through the support for this one to continue lower as well. And then we have seen that Bank of China has been doing a lot of intervention in the market. They have been injecting money into the market, which keeps the equity markets up. But what it also means that the safe haven currencies tend to drop as a result of that. So we have seen, even though euro has dropped, pound has dropped, yen crosses have not dropped as much, because the investor sentiment is basically keeping them up. There's a still risk on sentiment because of Bank of China injecting money. So they are going to support the markets. But like I said, if the concerns grow, then we could see a drop here in all the yen crosses. So right now, my bias is to the downside with caution. Like I said, first target is 71.80, and then we're looking at 70 as the second target. So bearish bias for Aussie yen as well. And then New Zealand yen here, this one has also dropped. So bias is bearish. We have a pin bar here. Again, it is into support. So if it doesn't break through, it can go back up again. But bearish bias here, next target is 85.8, sorry, 68.80. And then we have 67.80, so bearish bias for New Zealand yen as well. And then CAD yen here, this one hasn't really done much. We have seen it go back and forth here. It went into the support here and then it has bounced back. So what I would look for here would be a potential retest of this 82.80, and if it holds below, then I'm looking for a move back towards 81.50. So right now, bias is neutral for CAD yen. Pound yen, the question is levels for pound yen. So pound yen it's still holding in that range. It hasn't broken through the range, so we do need to see a drop through the support level at 141. If it doesn't, then we are looking for a move back into the range. Now, should there be pressure on the markets, then we're looking for a drop. First target is 139.20, second one 138. So bearish bias for pound yen. All right, so let's go on to our commodities here. We can see here silver is still making its way down. It does have this downward bias to it at this point. So with this one here, still kind of stuck in that range. It is looking bearish, but it's still in that support level. It hasn't broken through. So bearish bias, but with caution. If it does not drop below 17.50, again, look for a move back towards the top of the range. And also if the virus concerns come back into the markets, we are likely to see gold and silver go up. So this support level here becomes very important as a result. So 17.50 is the first target. Only if it breaks through that would I look for 17.15. Otherwise, we are going back into the range here. So I will look for it to stay in the range otherwise. So right now, bias is bearish, but with caution here. Gold is still trading in this range. It went into the support and it's moved back here since then. So this is the support it's respecting. With this one, we can look for, my bias is neutral here. So we can look for a drop back into 1545, but if it holds above, I will look for it to go back towards the top of this range here that it's been trading in for the last several weeks. So neutral bias here for gold. Oil here, oil's been stuck in that little range here into the support over the last few days. So bias is bearish, but again with caution. It doesn't have the momentum that we saw last week. We were looking for a drop. We did get that, but the candle is not as strong as last week, which means we could see a turn in here. And the reason oil has been dropping is, again, because of the coronavirus issues that are impacting the Chinese economy. China is a big consumer of oil, and with oil, with the impact on their economy, oil is dropping as a result as well. Now, the move here, I will look for a drop back towards 49.37, but if it doesn't go through, I will look for a move back up. So if you take a look at the daily here, we'll see that it's stuck in this range. So I am looking for a drop back towards the bottom of the range, and this is where the test will be at 49.35. If it doesn't go through, I will look for that move back into the middle and then potentially top of the range. So we could see a range-bound move on this. So bias is bearish, but with caution. If it does break through, next target here is 46.65 here. And then below that, we have 45.30. But I would be cautious about 49.35. Things could turn here. So bearish bias, but with caution. Copper here, big drop in copper here on Friday. Same thing here. We see that it is price is into support and it's respecting that support. So bias is still to the downside here, but just be very cautious of this very important support level. Wasn't able to break it here, wasn't really, it struggled with it over here as well. So that could cause concerns. If it doesn't break, basically we're looking for a move back up here. But bias is bearish. If it breaks through that support, we're looking at 2.41 below that, and then we have a lot of room here for this to drop. So if it breaks through this 2.40, we could really see a drop here. So watch out for that. But for now, bearish bias. First target is 2.41, second target 2.37. And in terms of a pullback, we could get a pullback into 2.54 level before we see a drop back down here. So bias is bearish for copper. Bitcoin here, I do not have the latest numbers for the weekend for the Bitcoin, but in terms of the weekly move here, this is looking bullish. So we could get a pullback towards a 94.65 or 94.50 before a move higher. So bias here is bearish, sorry, bullish, my apologies, and then a further move to the upside. Now, do keep in mind, this one is also into resistance. This is where price dropped from. So we could see a turnaround here. This is where it was going. We had a similar candle here as well, but then look what happened. So this resistance at 9,900 is very important. If it makes through that, we are looking at the further move to the upside, 10,500, and potentially into 10,980, so 11,000. So bias here is bullish, but be very cautious of this resistance here because it could turn. All right, so let's move on to our equities here. So we saw that on Friday here. We did see a bit of a drop in all the equity markets here. But overall, there has been a lot of momentum to the upside, and much of this came from one, there were fading fears of coronavirus, which are now resurfacing, so things can change, but also with Bank of China injecting money into the stock market, which was, so they're trying to keep the stock market up, and that sort of sentiment carries through all the rest of the equity markets as well. So that's why we saw this big move to the upside. Now we are seeing the prices right into that resistance level. It did break through the top, but again, it's come back in. So at this point, we could see a range-bound market. So we could see things just come back, prices come back towards the bottom of the support, 32.15 level. However, momentum has been quite strong to the upside, which means if it does break through this, so let's take a look at the daily. So see how price is coming back in, but it could turn around right where it is. So if it does, then we could see another leg higher, something like this. But for now, Friday was bearish day for the stock market, so we could see it come back lower into 3,300, and either we get a churn there or it could just come all the way. So we could see a move like this, and then a further move up, but we could also see it come back into this range where it has been trading for quite some time, for a number of days here. So for now, bias is bullish, but with caution here. And if it breaks through the high, we're looking at 3,400 as the next target. So the move that I would anticipate would be something like this. Okay, but like I said, if the coronavirus concerns grow and resurface, then it's going to drop back towards the support. So this is why it's very important for us to just keep an eye on the news. Nasdaq here, this one is still holding up there. So overall bias is still bullish here. As we can see with this one, we could see a further drop towards 92.80, and then that could act like a support point for it to continue further. So we could see a move like that. So keep an eye on that. 90 to 80 is the level that I would watch out for. If it holds above, then we're looking for a further move to the upside. So right now, bias is bullish. Next target is 95.50 for Nasdaq. Dow Jones here, this one, again, it came back here into this support resistance level. It's back in here. So with this one, we could see a drop further into 28,900. And same thing here, it could turn around from there and go back up. So I'm looking for maybe another day of drop here before it continues further. But overall, though, bias is still bullish here. And target would be, first target would be the top again, 29,500, and then we're looking at 29,700. So bias is bullish here as well, but again, with caution. DAX here, DAX as well went into the resistance and then it has dropped from there. With this one as well, we could see another drop here back into the support level at 13,300 and then a move higher from there. So for now, bias is bullish in this one as well. As we can see, a strong candle to the upside, but keep in mind it's coming right into resistance. So in this case, I would look for a pullback potentially into 13,380 and then a further move higher. So bias is bullish as well for DAX. And then FTSE here, FTSE also went up this week, and on Friday we did see a drop there. So with this one here, this is also into resistance. So what I would look for here would be a move higher towards 75.30, but if it stays below that, I will look for a move lower here again into 72.80. So bias is still bullish because we do have this bullish candle close, but watch out, like I said, for any kind of this coronavirus issue, because that could cause the markets, equity markets, to drop, which means the safe haven assets would go up. So bias is bullish with caution here as well. And last but not least, we see that Nikkei also went into resistance and we have seen a move lower. So Friday was a bearish day here for all the equity markets here, and we could see another move towards 23,400, and from here this one could turn around. So bias overall though is still bullish here for Nikkei as well, but again with caution. Next target here would be 24,180, and then we are looking at 24,480 as the next target. And in terms of the pullback, I'm looking at 23,400. So the move I would anticipate would be something like this, right? But again, if it gets stuck here, then this one could come back down. So we'll see how things unravel during the week. For now though, bias is bullish. Target 24,180, then 24,480. So that's all I have for today. Please do join me for my daily market analysis. I do put that on the YouTube channel as well. So check it out there. But for now, have a wonderful trading week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.